Simply put, spasticity sucks. Spasms, cramps, charley horses, stiff legs that are hard to bend, these are nasty symptoms and unfortunately all too common in the setting of multiple sclerosis. Howdy, my name's Boster. I'm an MS neurologist in Columbus, Ohio, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about how to squish spasticity. Don't turn away because all of that starts right now. Howdy! Thanks for learning about MS with me, Boster. In this video, I would like to discuss spasticity, a yucky and very common symptom in the setting of multiple sclerosis. Spasticity manifests as a spasm or a bouncing of a limb, or a muscle cramp like a charley horse that hurts like the dickens, or a limb that's hard to bend, making it nearly impossible to get your leg in and out of the car. Spasticity is all too common in the setting of MS, impacting upwards of 70% of people with the condition. And fortunately, it's treatable. In this video, that is exactly what I want to discuss with you, how to beat up on spasticity. So grab a paper and pencil and let's jump in. Let's start with my secret weapon, stretching. Stretching is a very, very powerful tool to combat spasticity, and it's completely free. I recommend that when you wake up, you stretch before you exit your bedroom. Get on the floor or lay on your bed, hold each position for a minimum of 30 seconds, and make sure that we're stretching the right muscles. We're looking at targeting the back, the butt, the hips, the hamstrings, the quadriceps, and the calves. Again, hold each position of the stretch for 30 seconds, and I would recommend doing 2 or 3 total repetitions. This should take you under 7 minutes before you exit your bedroom and start your day, and what you'll find is you're a lot less spastic. Similarly, when you enter your bed at the end of your day, before you climb in to go to sleep, I want you to stretch just before you go night-night. So we're gonna stretch at both bookends of the day. Then I simply need you to stretch once in the middle of your workday. Whether that be during a lunch break or during a 5-minute break at some point, go ahead and get your stretch on. Butt, back, hips, hamstrings, quads, calves, holding each stretch for 30 seconds and doing a couple repetitions. By stretching 3 times during the day, we're going to massively decrease spasticity without using a single medicine. Number 2, it's important to keep in mind, spasticity intensifies or worsens the more still you are. So waking up from sleep, many of my patients find that they're super stiff. If you sit at a desk, let's say for several hours during the workday, you may find when you stand up that your legs are locked up. Same thing when taking a long car ride. And so keeping this in mind, we can use movement to keep us limber. I challenge you to figure out how long can I sit before I start to get tight. Let's pretend that's about an hour. Well, at the top of every hour, get up, do a lap, and sit back down. You may find the same tool to be helpful when going on a long car drive. You may find that 1 hour into the drive, it's best if you stop at a rest stop, walk around your car twice, jump back in your car. That's going to keep your legs limber so that you don't tighten up. Lastly, consider buying an under-the-desk pedaler. These relatively inexpensive devices that have pedals that you stick your feet in, and you can just passively sort of move your legs during the course of your workday. Again, keeping your legs nice and limber. Movement is key to combat spasticity because the longer you're still, the stiffer you'll get. Number 3 is to become aware of what I call noxious stimulation. Things that can happen in the environment or to your body which can intensify or worsen your spasticity. For example, when it's cold outside, my patients get stiffer. Cold ambient temperatures are a recipe for stiff legs when you wake up in the morning. Knowing that allows you to game out to try to keep your body warm and to navigate the winter weathers. Similarly, if you have a urinary tract infection or if you have severe constipation, these are noxious stimulation to your body and they'll make your spasticity go through the roof. The way that we use this in clinic is as follows. Someone with known spasticity suddenly becomes worse. The first thing we're going to do is look for an infection, a constipation, something going on which could be a nidus to make the spasticity more intense. We treat that and they get better. If you found a little value in this video, do me a solid favor and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks! If you've made it this far in the video, you may be asking yourself, how am I supposed to implement all of this stretching and moving and all these other things? And a great way to get yourself started is to partner up with a neurophysical therapist. Ask your neurologist for a referral to a physical therapist, preferably a neurophysical therapist, with a focus on spasticity. This wizard will teach you tricks and tips and exercises that can be very, very helpful. And it's a super way of implementing all the stuff that we've been talking about to date. Turning our attention to pharmacology, using lotions and potions to help spasticity, we first have to decide, are we treating a focal spasticity or a regional or diffuse spasticity? If you are only spastic in your wrist and hand, just here, and nothing else, we're going to treat that differently than if you're spastic both arms and both legs. For focal spasticity, we will use a focal treatment. My fave is botulinum toxin. So you may have heard of Botox to make your face gorgeous with less wrinkles, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about using Botox into spastic muscles to weaken them a little bit, just enough that they're no longer overpowering. And Botox is an awesome sauce way of managing focal spasticity. When you inject a muscle, it will dampen its power and help the spasticity, and it lasts for 3 to 4 months, which is pretty awesome. And so you can imagine someone with focal spasticity can stop by the clinic 4 times a year and knock it out of the park. Botox has no systemic side effects. It's not going to interact with your oral medicines, and that's another perk so that we're not adding to your medication list by treating you with just Botox. Oftentimes, spasticity in my patients is not isolated to just a hand or just a foot. They may have an entire arm and an entire leg, or all 4 limbs that are super stiff, spasming and having cramps. And in that situation, we can't use a focal treatment like Botox. We need to use something that's going to cover more ground. So we always start with oral agents, pills. There are a bunch of oral pills that are antispasmodics, and my 2 favorite are the ones I'll be talking about with you today. That's baclofen and Xanaflex. So let's start off with a little discussion of oral baclofen. So at the molecular level, the problem with spasticity is a lack of the stop neurotransmitter. That stop neurotransmitter is called GABA. So they have invented a oral pill, which is exogenous GABA. It's a chemical molecule that looks just like the neurotransmitter. And you can swallow that pill and give your body the neurotransmitter that it's missing. That pill is called baclofen. Baclofen is an oral antispasmodic, and it's one that I use very frequently to treat mild to moderate degrees of spasticity in my patients. Baclofen, I always joke, is a distant cousin of beer, and that helps you remember the side effects: groggy, dizzy, sleepy. And just like with beer, you can acclimate to it. And so we oftentimes will slowly titrate up people's doses to get them accustomed to the baclofen. Baclofen lasts 5 hours in the human body. And so that's very important to keep in mind when we're trying to dose it. Oftentimes, for significant spasticity, we'll take medicine right when we wake up, around lunch, dinner, and then just before bed. And that way we have excellent coverage throughout the day. The doses of baclofen are dialed in for the benefit that we're trying to achieve. And I have some patients that can literally take 5 or 10 milligrams of baclofen before night-night, and that's all they need. I have other patients where we have very slowly titrated up to rather high doses, in some cases upwards of 40 milligrams 4 times a day. Now, that's an extremely high dose, but there are situations that demand that. Baclofen is a helpful medicine, particularly with spasms and stiff legs. Sometimes we need to use something in addition, particularly at night, particularly with cramps. And I have found great success using a different medicine called Xanaflex or tizanidine. Now, Xanaflex and baclofen are not the same class of medicine. Xanaflex is an alpha adrenergic medicine, and it has a side effect of sedation. So I almost never give it to people during the daytime because then they'd fall asleep. But nighttime, either by itself or with baclofen, it's outstanding at stopping spasms and cramps, which can unfortunately wake my patients up. So dialing in oral antispasmodics can be very, very helpful for the vast majority of patients with systemic spasticity. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. That free action helps teach the YouTube algorithm that you dig this content and help push it out so more families impacted by MS can benefit. Thank you. Sometimes the degree of spasticity is so severe that high doses of oral antispasmodics plus focal Botox plus stretching plus physical therapy is simply not enough. And there are situations where we will entertain an intrathecal baclofen pump, or a baclofen pump. So there are 4 conditions that must be met for me to consider testing out a baclofen pump in a patient. Number 1 is that they have spasticity. So not everything that's tight is spasticity, and we need to make sure that we know what we're trying to address. Number 2, they don't like it. I've had patients who are stiff and don't care, and we're certainly not going to subject those patients to invasive procedures. But someone who is stiff and they don't like it is someone that I want to talk more to. Number 3, what we're currently doing isn't working. Because if physical therapy and stretching and baclofen and Botox in combination is working, that's great. We don't want to do anymore. But if that's not cutting it, then we're going to consider another option. And the 4th thing is that the human being has to be a responsible adult, because if we move forward with an intrathecal baclofen pump, it's mandatory that they're very, very involved in their care to get refills at the right time. Now, if you're curious about intrathecal baclofen, I have several videos on this channel which go into some depth, so I'll throw a card right up here and you can check that out later if you want to kind of up your game and learn more about pumps. What do we do if you don't like medicines? I have plenty of patients that dislike allopathic medicines. Pills and shots and pumps are just off the table. So what do we do then? Well, it turns out that there are some supplements that can be helpful with spasticity. And so I have had great success using magnesium to treat spasticity. I have some patients that will take 400 milligrams of magnesium oxide twice a day, and mild to moderate spasticity is well controlled. Similarly, I have patients that are successfully managing their spasticity using CBD. So CBD is a cannabinoid, but it doesn't cause any psychoactive changes in the brain. It doesn't make you medicated or high, and it can, in many patients, help significantly with their spasticity. Also, THC, so cannabis that has the psychoactive ingredients, can be very, very helpful in managing spasticity. So my point here is there's lots of different ways of trying to make someone less spastic. And if they don't want to try allopathic medicines, I have some herbal lotions and potions that may very well do the trick. If you'd like to learn more about multiple sclerosis and up your game, click the video that's on your screen right now. And until my next Monday morning video or my next live stream, or even better yet, the next time I see you at the Boster Center for MS, this is Aaron Boster saying be safe and take care.